Welcome to Ifa Stories, where ancient wisdom meets modern storytelling. Step into the sacred world of Ifa, the Yoruba spiritual system, where every tale carries the power of divination, destiny, and deep cultural insight. Join us as we unravel the mysteries of the Orishas, the divine forces guiding our paths, Orunmila, the Iron Moles, and many more. Each story is a bridge between the past and the present, weaving timeless lessons that inspire, enlighten, and transform. Embrace the wisdom, honor the tradition, and journey with us into the heart of Ifa. Subscribe now and let the stories guide you. Òdí Méyì, the healing of the crippled and the blind, divination and the offering to Esu. After finally settling, Òdí soon acquired some assistants who helped him in his divination work. Among them were Dimi, Barakata, Ron, Gubinrin, Kuku, Gubinrin, Agada, Bule, Ahe, Re, Jo, Fo, Un, Ba, Koje together. They performed divination for a blind man and a crippled man who were very poor. The two men sought out Òdí Méyì for help, and he advised them to offer a he-goat to Esu. The crippled man had previously seen the skull of a he-goat somewhere. Since he could not imagine how he would afford a live goat, he crawled until he found the skull where he had previously seen it. Subsequently, they offered the skull of the he-goat to Esau, with the promise to bring him a live goat when they had prospered enough to afford one. However, they continued living in poverty. Desperate to end their suffering, they devised a plan to commit suicide together. One day they set out for the river. The blind man, holding a staff, carried the crippled man on his shoulders so that he could guide the way. Their intention was to end their miserable lives through harakiri. Upon reaching the river, the crippled man suggested that the blind man be the first to jump into the water. The blind man refused, arguing that he could not see his way into the river. Then he suggested that the crippled man jump first so that the splash from his impact would indicate the direction he should jump into the water. With this suggestion, the crippled man crawled, picked up a mud sculpture made by ants, Ulelefe in Bini, reached the riverbank, made his last wish, bid farewell to his friend, and threw the mud sculpture into the river, hoping to deceive the blind man. The blind man called out to the crippled man several times, but there was no response, so he assumed that he had drowned. The miraculous healing. After lamenting that he was going to die in poverty, suffering until the very end, the blind man began striking the ground with his staff, as he walked toward where the crippled man had supposedly fallen into the water. Upon reaching the spot, he continued striking the ground forcefully and repeatedly. When he felt an obstacle in his path, he kept hitting that point, unaware that he was, in fact, striking the legs of the crippled man. After having been paralyzed for so long, his legs suddenly regained life. The man, who had been crippled until then, was able to stand up. As the blind man continued striking the ground and moving toward the river, he shouted that a man on the verge of death should make one final effort, in Bini, Kaya te wu to zihaza. When the crippled man managed to stand up, he screamed that the blind man was trying to kill him. As soon as he was fully upright, he slapped the blind man, who immediately regained his sight. While they initially blamed each other, they soon embraced and began to rejoice. Together, they walked home for the first time, completely healed. They gathered money to buy a he-goat, which they offered to Esu without delay. Eventually, both men went to express their gratitude to the wise Òdí Méyì for the accurate divination he had performed for them.